Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna probably be reviewing a lot of manga lately, and the manhwa and whatever the hell. Just so you know, probably gonna be spamming those because I've read enough where I just feel like talking about them for the sake of just remembering what they are without having to like reread them. The one I have today, well, you could probably kind of get a gist from the title, but it's a really freaking long name, and it's not really that good anyway. But I'll let you know here if you really care that much. So the English title that I found on multiple sites, this is what they officially say is the English title apparently, is the it is the assistant mage parts ways with his power abusive alchemist childhood friend, and his being told to have low chance of gathering materials and wants to start a slow life at a town in the remote region. Well, okay. A couple of things to unpack there. Relatively poor grammar. Um, hey, if you want to look that up, you're free to do so. I'm not recommending it though. If I had to rate this series, I'm thinking like, five's probably pretty good. 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 if you're feeling generous. It's pretty mid, to say the least, and it is one of those series where the title literally says everything that you're going to want to know about the series. It's an assistant mage, this dude, who leaves his abusive childhood friend, this girl, because she just abuses him, treats him poorly, and when he's going out and getting supplies for her to do all of her little alchemy things and whatnot. Because she says that he sucks, blah blah blah, he wants to go off now because he's done with the abuse. Of course, it's one of those joke series where, it turns out he's super incredible, but no one knows because they don't care. It's just, yeah, it's one of those. There's about 400 of these a week. And you can kind of tell which ones they're going to be based on how long the title is. And this one's one of the longer ones, I'll say that much. It's almost a paragraph, I would say. You could probably put multiple stopping points in that and have a couple of sentences for one title. I'm just going to run through, the gist, the first, little bit of the series, if you care. So, main protagonist. I'm not even going to name half the characters whenever I talk about these series because they're so generic it doesn't matter. So, main protagonist, you see him getting all abused, even though he's hunting down these crazy creatures and things like that. Eventually, she gets fed up with him, wants someone else, so he goes off on his own, blah blah blah, goes on a trip somewhere. He meets these two characters in the back while journeying. They see his amazing abilities because he's able to take out a massive, monster easily, and he thinks he's, pathetic or whatever. So they're all surprised and everything. Goes on his way, traveling to another town. Of course, this girl starts to find out that he's a little bit better than she was letting on, I guess, initially, and is starting to be a little concerned, and also is like that, typical trope of an abusive childhood friend where she's always like, well, he's gonna come back. He'll be back anyway. I don't care. I don't need him. I'm the good one. I'm perfect. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, on the way to, traveling to the new town, we know these two over here are basically just, comic relief. Literally nothing special about either one of them. Super basic, just adventures or whatever, and they tell him oh wow, you're incredible, can you teach us, blah blah blah. So, they're kind of hyping him up. There's hype men. He goes to a new town, signs up, wants to be an adventurer, and, live a relaxing life away from all the stress and crap that he's been through for all those years. Oh no. And then he ends up meeting this girl over here. Who, I mean, listen, I didn't write down a script for this. I'm not going off anything, but she's basically like a priest or like a saintess, if you will, who was just fired. So now she's kind of in a similar situation. She was treated poorly by certain higher-ups and whatnot, and she wants to get away from it all and, you know, be her own person. So these two kind of form a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a connection, if you will. And from there, it's kind of just generic, you know, these two getting along, doing little quests, side quests here and there, the typical, like, oh, the guild master's, you know, uneasy about this guy because she heard he's a loser who, you know, bigs himself up and is, you know, terrible at everything, and he, you know, harmed this girl's reputation, blah, blah, blah. They have to go on a little adventure to, you know, sort out what he's going to do. Basic comedy ensues, you know, like, oh, he does something that's really cool and really impressive, but he thinks it's lame and doesn't realize, like, oh man, I'm actually incredible at everything. You know, it's like this super generic, like, guy, you know, main character doesn't know how OP they are, and all that. I think if you just want to have, like, a gist, you know, if I had to put into words, like, this is super generic. I'm not going to say it's below a 5 or a 6, and my reasoning for that is because it doesn't do anything poorly. Like, everything that it wants to do is super generic and based on tropes, but it doesn't do any of them poorly, so I can't say it's bad, but it's just mid. You know, it's okay, fine, whatever, right? Nothing impressive. The art's fine. I can't say I have any complaints with it. It looks okay. As far as characters go, I mean, the main characters, you know, again, super generic guy that just doesn't really have a lot of self-esteem, but he's super good at everything. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. The Saintess is literally just trope Saintess. It's just, you know, she's like, oh, she's really kind and blah blah blah, and she respects him and, you know, asks for help and things like that. There are other characters you see throughout the series, like her, you know, butlers and guards and things like that you happen to notice here and they're pretty tropey as well. You know, the cook that's really proud of himself, the guard that's, like, lazy and, you know, not super attentive. Like I said, these are, like, the most generic comic relief characters ever. It's literally just, you know, they're there to be a joke most of the time. The Guildmaster, like I said, super serious Guildmaster, basic idea. Oh, you know, I was wrong about you, blah blah blah. And then this is just, like, the literal, like, any story with an abusive childhood friend, which is more common than it really should be. That's her. You know, she thinks she's the reason everything's going well. It's pretty much akin to, like, those kicked out of the hero's party things, except it's just, you know, kicked out of the alchemist office. Yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say. I want to make this relatively brief. I think final score, because it does everything, you know, it's trying to do fine, and, you know, the art's decent. I think final score, you know, I was debating between a 5 and a 6. I'll go with 6. I'll be nice. You know, it's solid. I can't really complain with anything in the series. It's more so just, it's generic. So, you know, don't go into this expecting, like, a new favorite series. It's one of those things where, like, oh, I want to spend, you know, an hour reading something that's, you know, somewhat entertaining. Yeah, that's about it. Just, you know, generic, alright series, nothing special, with a really, really long and obnoxious name. Yeah, I mean, if you have any ideas for another one you want me to cover, I might have already read it, who knows. Let me know. I'll see ya.